Good morning, everyone. My name is Shapour Vahdati Nejad. I'm a PhD holder in English, and at the moment I'm working at Sultan Qaboos University in Muscat, Oman. My research is about EFL students' attitude toward electronic feedback on their writing assignments during COVID-19 pandemic. Because of the pandemic, most of the classes were online and all the feedback which was given to the students was online. Therefore, I wanted to know their attitude toward their feedback that they receive. Today I'm going to have an introduction, then literature review, then methodology, and finally findings and conclusion. Regarding the introduction, as an English teacher, I believe that the most important productive skill is writing for the students. You know, we have two kinds of productive skill. We have speaking and writing. When it comes to speaking, students have the chance to think, revise themselves, correct themselves, and think about it. But when it comes to writing, most of the time, they are even afraid of making mistakes because they have to think about so many things, such as spelling, grammar, and other aspects of the language. This makes this skill the most challenging skill for a lot of students because they have to combine all the information that they have about the language in order to construct a correct sentence. So that makes it really challenging for them. On the other hand, once a student wants to enter university or in the realm of academia, when they want to develop, they need English first of all, because most of their resources are in English. Besides, if they want to produce any kind of languages, or if they want to do any kind of assignments or research, they need a very good command of writing. So this makes it again necessary for them. This necessity can put students under a lot of pressure. So let's see what happens when a teacher receives a writing from the students. In the review of literature, there are two groups of teachers. One group is for, and the other one is against giving feedback to the students. Many studies overwhelmingly highlight that providing students with feedback on their writing leads them to write better. There are several studies. On the other hand, there are other studies indicating that writing has no value and it has no efficiency on the students' accuracy. But as you can see, there are studies like Graham in 2018, Graham et al. 2015, Hattie and Timberley in 2007. All of them highlighted that their findings prove that writing feedback has a positive effect on the students to become better writers. Besides, meta-analytic reviews clearly indicate that providing students with feedback leads to improved academic performance in general. And the reviews focusing solely on writing tell the same story, such as Graham et al. In 2012 and 2015. So all these studies are indicating that feedback has positive effect on students' accuracy and their academic performance. Arad, Winkler, Arnolf, and Restek in 2014 mentioned that prioritized writing corrective feedback and selective way of guiding and help students master and correct their mistakes. So students by themselves, they master the language and correct their mistakes. On the other hand, provision of feedback on a student's writing is regarded as an important pedagogical practice for teachers to improve their students' writing and language accuracy. So when we put all these things together, we realize that some studies have proved that there is a positive effect on students' accuracy after giving feedback to them. And besides, teachers are thinking and having this attitude that they are improving students' accuracy by giving feedback to them. There is one more study that Kolonsky and Onzins in 2012, they ran a very comprehensive study with a very large group of students. And they stated that students believe that in order to improve their writing skill, it is necessary to receive teachers' feedback on their written work. Besides, students also believe that feedback seems extremely critical to overcome their writing difficulties and potential pitfalls they encounter in the future writing activities. So all these studies are for giving feedback to the students, and they have positive attitude toward giving the feedback to the students and wanting the students to improve their accuracy in language learning, specifically in writing. Excluding what all I have mentioned, here we have the review of literature of those that they are against writing feedback. This trend started in 1996 when Muscat, for the first time, he mentioned that there is no, of course, his studies, his findings was based on research studies. He was against the positive effect of written feedback on improving writing accuracy of L2 learners. It was an astonishing paper in 1996. Since then, a lot of teachers, a lot of researchers have followed his way to find out whether he was right or wrong, such as Gad, Keliver, Langberg, et al. In 2016. They argued that writing corrective feedback research to date has not convincingly proved that error correction helps students to improve the accuracy of their writing. Furthermore, they suggested that the process of error correction is harmful since it diverts energy and time from the more productive aspect of language, of writing. Chandler in 2003 and Lee in 2008 claimed that, from the student's point of view, students do not always understand the writing corrective feedback provided and fail to remember the meaning of the feedback when making revisions. Crossway 2017 used a longitudinal corpus to track students' errors over a semester of instruction in English for academic purposes, with numerous opportunities for writing corrective feedback in various forms, yet found no longitudinal reduction in the frequency or type of errors made despite the teacher's best efforts. So, having all these concepts in my mind, I wanted to know students' attitudes toward writing feedback. In order to find out students' perception, understanding, and attitude towards teachers' feedback, specifically electronic feedback due to COVID-19 pandemic, then I prepared a questionnaire. This questionnaire comprised 11 close-ended questions related to EFL learners' perception, understanding, and attitude toward teachers' electronic feedback, and was distributed among 40 students. These 40 students were level 4 Sciences Foundation students who were studying at Sultan Qaboos University Foundation level at that moment. The students were asked to opt for strongly agree, disagree, or strongly disagree, like the scale to find out their perception and attitude toward feedback. I intentionally divided these 11 questions in 3 different categories. The first category I called it as their desire. I wanted to know that do they want to have electronic feedback or not. So the first question was, I would like my writing to be given feedback electronically. As you can see, 75% of the students said that they want to receive their feedback electronically, while only 25% said no, they disagreed or strongly disagreed. The second question was whether they would like their electronic writing feedback to be emailed to them or not. And astonishingly, 90% of them said yes, they would like to receive it. And only 10% they said they don't like to receive their writing feedback as an email. So this was their desire. The second part of the questionnaire I had in my mind to see if students believe that writing feedback helps them to improve their language and their accuracy or not. So, question number 3. Students think that if, electronic feedback allows them to understand their language problem better. So, as you can see, 77.5% of the students believe that this can help them to understand their language problems better. Next question was, they think that electronic feedback is more accurate. But as you can see, 57.5% of the students believe that it's accurate, while 42.5% they believe that it's not more accurate than the teacher in person giving feedback, like pen and paper feedback. Next question was that students think electronic feedback highlights the problem more analytically and details. But this question shows that only 48.5% of the students believe that, while 52.5% of them, they don't believe that it is more analytical and more detailed. So it is almost 50% for both pen and paper or electronic feedback. The next question was that students think that the teacher needs to explain the problem after giving electronic feedback. This was a very interesting one because only 17% of them said that they require more explanation after the feedback, and the rest of the students believe that the feedback is accurate and they don't need more explanation. The next question was that to find out whether they think electronic feedback can improve their English in general or not. And as you can see, almost 90% of the students believe that electronic feedback can improve their language in general. What do I mean by in general? I mean not only in grammatical competence, in other aspects as well, such as spelling or other aspects. And the last question regarding their accuracy was to find out whether they think electronic feedback can improve their grammar or not. 90% of them, they said yes. They believe that electronic feedback can improve their grammar. The third category of the questions in the questionnaire was focusing on the students' attitude towards feedback in general. So to find out whether they think electronic feedback makes them more confident when they see that they have fewer and fewer errors. and 67.5% of the students, they said yes, they believed, they feel more confident. The next question was to find out if they think electronic feedback makes them more determined to work harder, and almost 90% of the students, they said yes, it helps them to feel determined to work harder in order to have fewer errors in their next writings. And the last question was to find out if they think electronic feedback is more interactive and fun, because nowadays students want to have fun in their classes. All of them have their gadgets in their hands, mobile, iPad, or a laptop in the classes, so they would like to have more fun in the classes. So as you can see, 97.5% of them said that yes, electronic feedback is more fun than the paper and pen feedback. So all in all, I just mentioned that. For the conclusion, as I have been teaching for more than 30 years, I believe that corrective feedback, either electronic or pen or paper, is effective and EFL learners can benefit from it. Let's imagine there is no proof and there is no efficiency of the writing feedback on students' writing. Still, regardless of efficacy of feedback or electronic feedback, as far as students are concerned, learners mentally believe that it is fruitful and can assist them through their learning process. Therefore, it must be taken seriously in EFL classes. I personally believe that because students mentally believe that corrective feedback is helpful for them, they must be given feedback. This can help them improve their grammatical competence, and they can improve other aspects of the language as well. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you very much for listening to me.